Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, except for, of course, this week because of the Rams game. But they are going to play me twice and they're going to play me at noon on Sunday. So if you're hearing this show today and you want to hear it again, you can hear it again tomorrow on Sunday at noon. We normally come to you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the name of this show is Exploited Crimes and Technology. It is brought to you by an organization called Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. It's not .com, that's a rock band. So we're millionkids.org, and we serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. We report to the Riverside County Sheriff Department, and we've been doing that for about 12 years now. But I often talk about more than just, for instance, sex trafficking, because there's a lot of things going on in the world of exploitation regarding especially our children, but adults also. So this week, I really want to talk about what happened in Los Angeles, and I really want to tie it to a discussion about how to build character in our children. The farther I go, the longer I have been in this business, the more I come back to the basics, that it really depends on whether or not we have raised children with character. And if we have not done that for whatever reason, our society is going to pay a price, that child will pay a price, and most likely their family will pay a price. And so I really want to kind of hone in on that discussion today. So this all started for me because last week I watched in horror, as the entire world, at least most of the United States, watched. This is a headline. There are many different news outlets that reported this. This particular one happens to be Fox News. Louis Cassiano, I guess it is. Headline is Los Angeles Flash Mob Loots, Vandalizes 7-Eleven Following Street Takeover, Police Say. That's the headline. If you want to Google that on Fox News, in this case, Los Angeles Flash Mob Loots, Vandalizes 7-Eleven Following Street Takeover, according to the police. So you can Google it and look at the videos yourself if you want to do that. I have looked at it. I've shared it with many people. I've asked for other experts to give me their opinion. Certainly, I'm not in discussion on anything like this, but I watched in horror as this came about. And I can't help but wonder and have dialogue with others about how this happens and why is it okay in those people's mind. So what happened is somewhere between 100 to 120 people were gathering over by LAX. Apparently, according to this article, many of the people that were involved in the looting of the 7-Eleven, they had actually got there before and took over the street and blocked the traffic with their vehicles and performed donuts, according to the police. Now, I'd invite you to actually play that video and look at it again, because many of the people involved in it, you can see their faces clearly. And I'm looking at this and saying, if they're old enough to take over a street, they're basically an adult. Now, many of them look like teenagers, but if you're driving and you own a car, which I think, quite frankly, the police ought to impound every one of their vehicles, they need to pay a price for this in order for this happening. But this is called a flash mob. And what is happening here is that it starts online. They have a group of people that talk to each other, that connect through each other. I don't know if it's through a private chat forum or maybe they text each other. I don't know exactly what social media they were using, but they formed what is called a flash mob. And more than 100 of them went into a 7-Eleven in the middle of the day and took anything and everything they wanted. Now, this video, first of all, will show you the young man behind the counter. A fine young man, had a job, earning his money, paying his own way, And, he basically fled for his life. There's over 100 of them and only one of him. So, to his credit, he got out of there. But I think he is the real hero in this case because he is showing what young people really ought to be like. And that is earning a living, paying your bills, maybe going to school, learning a trade, and making something of themselves. But instead of that, they came in and they ransacked and looted the 7-Eleven. Now, I watched this video in disgust, quite frankly. There are no values going on here whatsoever. And yet, as I looked in the faces of the kids on this film, many of them look like they're regular kids who maybe would not have done this normally. I'm not going to let them off the hook by any means. But I look at them and say, what drives this? How can this happen? What are the kids like outside of a mob mentality? What role did social media play on it? But more important, do any of those kids have any moral values whatsoever? Because to go into another person's property and jump over the counter and take the cigarettes and take everything they wanted, take stuff off the shelves, generally destroy the store for no good cause whatsoever, is really a phenomena to me as far as I'm concerned. I try to understand, where is their character? Where were their parents? What kind of values were we raised with here that allows you to believe that you have a right to go in because there are so many of you and take what you want? Now, this is a mob that's doing this, but we are seeing this all across America. We see stories of shoplifting because the laws now have raised in California that if it's under $950, they don't do a lot of effort to prosecute you. Except cartels have taken over these kids and they are having them go in at $900 a pop into Home Depot, into 7-Eleven, into grocery stores, into Target, and any kind of retail store and take what they want. Then they move on to another one. It is a massive industry that is taking place. Just imagine if you're a cartel leader and you have 6 teenagers and they are able to steal on average $700 every 2 hours. That money is going back to some cartel, either in Mexico or China or Guatemala or who knows where, maybe to Thailand. And so this is the kind of thing we're seeing across the U.S. I looked at the face of those kids and I wondered, if they did not have that social media, do any of them have enough character to say, I'm not going to go in there and steal? Or would all 100 and some of them say, I get what I want, I don't have to pay for anything, I don't have any values, and I will take what I want at anybody else's expense? So one of the things that I'm considering here is, what happens when you get a mob mentality, which is happening on social media? You're bringing people together and using it in a way to expand crime and literally do away with any citizen's right to safety or freedom or any of that kind of thing. The real hero in this story is the young man behind the counter who fled for his life. But I'm asking myself, how do we build character in our kids? Where did this go wrong? Now, a lot of people just lay it at social media, and I'm not totally against that, because social media is, even though I'm on it, even though we all live it, and it's going to expand even more so, is set up in such a way that it does bring people together, and they can be brought together for either good or they can be brought together for bad. You see people that do GoFundMe pages that want to make things right for another human being. Those people have character. But these low lives that went into this 7-Eleven have no character. I would like to have believed that if they just went in there alone, they would never steal, they would never lie, they would never cheat. But I'm not so sure of that. And I want to explore that in the rest of this show. I think we got to get back to basics of building character within our young people. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges of this generation. My name is Opal Singleton. We're up against that break, so stay with us. We will be right back.
Listen up, folks. You no longer have to drive out of the IE for a great restaurant experience. The Toasted Barrel, an upscale casual steakhouse located in Corona, has been winning award after award for their great diverse menu, service, ambience, wine, and cocktails. Customers call the Barrel the perfect date night. Inland Empire Magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant 4 years in a row. Wine Spectator recognized the Toasted Barrel's wine program for their award of excellence. Toasted Barrel is famous for their certified Angus beef, prime, Wagyu, and Kobe steaks, and they have some of the best pasta and seafood around. With happy hour and daily specials every day of the week, their appetizers and drink selections are the best around. Live music starts every Friday and Saturday at 5:30. Planning a dinner party, wedding rehearsal, family gathering, or holiday party? Look up Toasted Barrel online and make your reservation today.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello, and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We're talking about how to teach a young person to have character. I think the first thing we do is we get involved and we don't look the other way. I believe that this does not have to be a future trend. I agree that all of our kids will be on social media. But if there's ever an incident that drives me to talk to you, mom and dad, you, grandma and grandpa, pastor, CEO, church leader, whoever you are out there, I think that this is a call for us to stop and look at where we're at and take on building character in a world of social media. I think this is so important because so many times I talk to kids and they tell you that what happens on the internet isn't real and so it doesn't count. Well, if it only took place on the internet in this case, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but it does develop a mindset with someone. But when you take action to go out and take something that is not yours, to do harm to another person, to take over control of a street, then you have to start to take it past. It's not the social media. It is how we teach our children to live in a world without borders and using social media for good. And I often talk about that in terms of digital morality. And I think that is important. I think as parents and grandparents, we need to sit down with our children, those old enough to understand, and share that video with them. And it is a teaching moment. This isn't one of those things where we just look at it and go, oh my heck, look at that thing. And then we go away and say, I don't get it. I don't know those people. And it doesn't have anything to do with me. If you have a young person in your life on social media, it has everything to do with you, because it is an opportunity for you to sit down and look at that and begin to talk with your child. What do we think here? Should those young people be prosecuted? They've changed their lives. I don't know if any of them were in college. They were young, but some of them were old enough to have a car. I look in their faces and they look like fairly normal people. But quite frankly, they are behaving like criminals, and they will pay a price for being a criminal. And I think that that's a discussion that you need to have with your young people, that they need to give up their car. They need to sell that car, and whatever money is in it, give it to the owner of the 7-Eleven, because they have violated that person's rights and they have taken something that does not belong to them. They may need to participate in providing therapy for the people that were involved, any customers and the people behind the desk. And quite frankly, they probably need therapy of their own, because when you get in a mob mentality, you think as long as there's more of us than you, we don't have to do what's right. We can take what we want. I would encourage you to have a conversation with your young person. I would encourage you to have a conversation in your youth groups at church. Talk about morality and digital morality. What about the fact, should we let them off just because they heard about it on Facebook and they all went together, or they were in some chat forum and they all went together? Does that excuse them? And talk about what is done on the internet still affects your character. So many kids will tell me that sex on the internet is not sex. But I'm going to tell you, it's that very kid that slips up and sends off a naked photo, and they pay a price many times for the rest of their life. Because once you send out one of those illicit photos online, it is out there forever, and you have just created your own blackmail prison. And you don't know where it is and who's going to get it. You hope and pray it went to the person you sent it to. But if it gets in one of those dark web child pornography rings, your child's photo can go to more than 1 million people. And that is the world I work in. As we began to help kids and prosecute those criminals that are getting those photos. So you can use that analogy if you want. If a person's soliciting your photo online and you get sucked into sending it off on you and they start blackmailing you, who's at fault? Who sent the photo? What about the guy who's blackmailing you? Should we let him off? Because so many people think, well, because these kids met online, they shouldn't be held accountable. Talk about the morality between what happens on an online encounter and when you get into a real life response, and the fact that your child will be held accountable. Many of these kids may have had a promising future, but enough of their photos were there online now that many of them are now going to be charged with multiple crimes. Their lives will have changed forever, as it should be, because they went in and stole what was not theirs and committed acts of violence, and in many cases, acts of tearing up public property or private property. So I think one of the best things that parents and grandparents can do is have that discussion. What should their punishment be? What if they apologize? Can they do community service to turn it around? Otherwise, it should be on their record forever, because they have said that I'm a thief. I am willing to steal other people's property. I am willing to demolish other people's property. I'm willing to intimidate good people that are working behind a counter in the most difficult conditions. So talk with your child. Should they pay a price? Should it include the fact that they now have a record? Should they go to jail? Should they apologize? What should be the price here? Just because it happened online, is that forgivable? So talk about the role of social media in flash mobs. Talk about it with your child. Get them to give feedback. What is that role? Before social media, we didn't have these kinds of things. So, is social media used for good, or could social media be used for bad? And what impact does that have on the morality of our society? Just because a child or a teenager or a young adult is on TikTok or on, I don't know, Fortnite or any of the other chat forms that are out there, does that give them the right to commit crimes? And under what basis? And let your child answer and listen. Listen to what they have to say. And that will be a gauge for you about whether or not you have done your job in building strong character with our kids. Talk with them about what if they're the victim? What if they get caught up in sextortion and they get tricked into sending a video or a movie? And suddenly that photo goes off to everybody they know. Is that right? They will tell you, no, it's not right. Should that person pay a price? Quite frankly, they will. Many of them go to prison for 25 to 30 years. And your children need to know that, because there's entire rings now that are trying to get young people's photos and then spread them out into child pornography sites where they're out there for the rest of that child's life. And so sending that photo could change your child's life. It could keep them from getting into college or keep them from getting in the military. It could result in them not being able to go to school. In some of these cases, they actually end up being blackmailed, so they have to drop out of school. And that's a problem. Do you know someone who's being sextorted? How do you help that person instead of making fun of them and rejecting them and bullying them? I do believe digital morality is absolutely one of the most important discussions you can have with kids these days. It's a hard discussion because they'll go, oh, Dad, you don't understand. Oh, Mom, oh, Grandma. I get that they will say that to you. And you can say, I may not understand how every app works. I may not understand how every DM, direct message, works and which sites are there. But I do understand that you were raised to be a child with strong moral values, somebody who would not take what is not theirs, someone who would tell the truth. And regardless of how many people are trying to coerce you into doing something, I'm expecting you to be a young person of character, that you will step aside and have the maturity and the decision-making processes to decide, I am not going to participate in a criminal activity, whether it's online or not online. Just because we're on social media does not authorize it to be okay, and we overlook it. And I think that's the most important discussion you can have related to this news story. So don't be afraid, stand up and let's talk to our kids about character. This is Opal Singleton. I'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we're talking about the need to teach our kids character and doing it even related to social media. I would highly recommend that you Google, and you can just simply Google flash mob in Los Angeles 7-Eleven, and there's about 30 stories out there, and share it with your family. Sit down and share that program with your family and get their input. Talk about and get them to talk back. What are their feelings about law enforcement? Law enforcement gets a really bad rap. It really does. And they are having to go against things like when they show up, more than 120 some people are in the parking lot with stolen goods, and they're basically just making fun of the cops. I think that I personally am grateful to be associated with the Riverside County Sheriff Department, but we also work with several of your police departments here in Riverside and San Bernardino County. Some incredible people who put their lives on the line. And I think it's important to talk about that with your children. What is the role of law enforcement? It gets a bad rap. What can we do to support our law enforcement and show them respect? Because they are the people that are the difference between safety and character as far as doing what's right, between that and this mob violence. It's the only protection left in our society. I look around and see what is happening all across our nation at lawlessness. We see absolutely kind of decriminalizing crime. And somewhere, I think the message is being sent to our kids that if we decriminalize crime, then they don't have to have a sense of right or wrong. We can just simply make everything okay to certain groups. But I believe that that is the core of our society. And once we lose that core of our society, that right is right and wrong is wrong, that earning your way is much better and much more moral than taking your way. Of setting moral values and being something and deciding that you're going to do something. And I believe that this really comes down to that common denominator of parents and grandparents starting out teaching about character. I know there's a lot going on in schools that we're not crazy about. But I can also tell you there are a lot of really, really fine teachers out there because I educate them. I go out and train about sex trafficking and social media exploitation. I can tell you there are many good-hearted parents and teachers out there that want to teach kids what is right. And I believe that is really the foundation we need to raise children in a world where they're going to live on social media. Now, speaking of social media, I think one of the most important things you can do as a parent or a grandparent is give them activities away from social media. I'm not against social media. I make my living on it. I study it. I research it. And I myself have several different apps. And your kids will too. And I'm probably as notorious as everybody else. I sit down with my husband at night and relax, maybe at a restaurant. We start looking at Facebook reels. And you're like, really? I mean, whatever happened to straightforward conversation? And so one of the keys, I think, in building character is get your kid out of the house and away from social media, especially away from that gaming addiction where they're absolutely submersed in it. Because in those cases, so many of those games have absolutely no rules. There's all kinds of sexual acts going on in them. They kill people, they rape and kill people, they get points for it, they share it with others. And I believe one of the important things is to pull the kid back, get them in all kinds of sports, maybe the swimming or polo, or maybe they're playing soccer or taekwondo. Or one of the things that I think is really, really important for young people that are, 11, 12, 13, 14. And by the way, that's the most vulnerable age for being a victim of trafficking or sending a photo out. But get them into activities like a band or playing music instruments or maybe dance. I think that's very important. Or getting involved in a drama class where they can experiment with different characters and talk about what you like about the character they're playing and the one they're not. Talk about their favorite movie that is out there. What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What about the fact that they did something wrong? We have to get back to every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you build character. Character literally comes from developing discipline and setting goals and starting to decide, I want to be something and somebody. I want to be a leader. And I'm going to tell you this, leaders don't listen to social media and show up with 100 other people to go with the lowest of the low and turn their lives into criminal lives where they have a record. Leaders don't do that. Leaders are people that care about themselves and their others. And so I think it's important you talk about things like anger. What makes you angry? And how do you express that anger? We all get mad. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you turn your anger into revenge, when you turn your anger into hurting others, then that is not healthy anger. When you turn your anger into deciding that you are going to stand against a wrong, that's a healthy use of anger. So I talk about laughter and humor. I really think we miss a lot of that. I have a lot of fun with my husband because we try to use humor whenever we can. There are many things about each other we probably don't like because we married very late in life. We were both widowed and widower, and we're different people, but let's enjoy our differences with humor. Not everything has to be so extreme. You see, the danger of social media is that they live in the extreme. All of those video reels, not all of them, but many of them are in the extreme. And so how do we get our lives back into a general course of discipline and setting goals and admiring the good in others and wishing to help with others? All of those are traits that I think identify as leadership traits. And I think that this is an important opportunity to sit down and say with these young people, this is a mob, an absolute mob that was created. Anybody, anywhere in the world could do it. It took no talent. And in fact, standing against it and saying, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in going in and taking what is mine. Takes a whole lot more talent and leadership than just allowing yourself to be caught up in a flash mob that hurts others. I think those are important conversations to have and let your child respond and go back and forth. What price should they pay? You know, it just because it's a flash mob, is that our right? Because with more and more social media, your child is going to be influenced by millions of people that you're not ever going to meet. And so I think it takes deliberate discussion with your child. I think that we can't just go, oh, that's how it is today. I think that you're going to lose that battle. And that's when I get involved. You know, we sit with parents who are missing their kids because they've sent a naked photo and, you know, they're being blackmailed and they go out to meet up with that person and get violated. Or maybe they meet somebody online and they get one of those fantasy relationships and poof, they're gone. And parents will call me and want to intervene. I can tell you that a parent that does not know where their child is one of the most stressful parents in the world. We run Million Kids Missing Kids. We're involved in helping bring home many kids or at least locate them so the family can intervene. They can get the counseling and in cases where they've been violated, they can be rescued. We've been doing that about 12 years. Our organization is millionkids.org. We are involved with kids that get involved in prostitution. And because of a new law coming up next year, I think you're going to see a lot more young people involved in prostitution. That's one reason I feel so adamant that we need to sit down and talk to our kids about their sexual value and what that means, that they have one life and they're as valuable as they decide to be, but that once they compromise that value, then that puts them on a different track. And we need to talk about how to turn their lives around, forgive them, respect them, and help them rebuild their life. But what's most optimal is talk to them so that they don't get violated in the first place. But that takes a lot of discussion. That means a real relationship, not one passing in the night as everybody goes their own direction. So this is Opal Singleton. We are coming up against that break. Stay with us. We're going to be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We are talking about how to teach a child character in a world of social media. One of the things I think is so important is find out and listen to them. I think most kids will tell you, nobody ever listens to me. Listen to them. One of the things that a predator will do online is listen to them, and they will give them all kinds of positive reinforcement. And so I think that it's important that we step back and take a look at how we communicate with our kids. One of the things I think is that we need to kind of have a little bit of a, I don't want to say a vision or a fantasy, but elevate our discussions with our kids. It's so easy as a parent, I get it, trust me, to go, you're grounded and clean up your room. There is something to that kind of thing. Take each opportunity for a discussion and get their feedback. For instance, one of the things I notice heavily in this generation and the previous generation is our kids have more clothes and more shoes than anybody in any history in society. And yet you can't get in their room because they're all over the floor. So I think maybe one of the discussions would be to take a look at the value of that. The next one you get to buy, and maybe when you buy it, you'll hang it up. I'm not going to do your laundry for you. You are going to learn to be responsible for yourself. And, if you want to continue to have nice things, you're going to show me you're going to take care of the previous things. And it's that discipline that makes the difference. It's not the correction. It is sharing with your child. This is how you become a healthy adult. You began to plan the kind of person you want to be. What kind of adult do you want to be? Are you talented in some particular way? Do you want to be known as somebody who's ethical, that when they give their word, they can believe it, that they will earn their own way, that they will help others, that they're grateful for what they have? And ask who their heroes are and share with them, what do you like about that person? And what do you don't like about that person? Because everybody has flaws. And begin to talk about what you like about them and embellish that. I like you because you're high energy and you're funny, but I also like you because you're sincere. I see you when you get yourself in trouble, and while it's tough, you don't like it, you will apologize. And that just makes you a leader in my eyes. That makes you a hero in my eyes, that you're growing up to be someone I'm so proud of. And it needs that kind of interaction. But to do that, you have to put the devices away and start to talk. Now, nobody's putting devices away. Then we need to start to use the devices to have those discussions about what is morality, and morality online and morality in person, because most young people today will tell you it doesn't count online. That can only work if a parent allows that line of thinking, because if you're processing the thought, then you are processing your character in your brain, whether it's live or imagined online. And I think that young people need to understand that. I think also the value of helping others and the good stories. Okay, we can look at this story of the flash mob, but we also look at a story where a young person has used their skills to go out. Maybe they've ran a marathon to raise money for a charity, or maybe they've helped someone that's in a wheelchair, that's in a sport somewhere. Talk about the unfairness in life. I think that's important to do that. Life is unfair. I mean, think about what about this young man? He had a job. His life was threatened. He's showing up. He's doing the hard work. And 100 and some people come in and took all that away from him. Tell me the fairness in that. And, how should that be? Would you rather be the young person behind the counter, or the young person who's taking what is not theirs? I think all of those discussions are really important. I also totally believe, even if your family is totally messed up, okay, even if you're, a product and involved in a divorce, but there is pride in belonging to something bigger than yourself. And if you're listening to the radio today, I suspect you're one of those people that have raised your family with pride, that you're proud to be part of something bigger than self. And it's important that you examine your legacy. And one of that legacy would most likely be raising children that turn out to be responsible, mature, and accountable adults. But then talk to your young person about their legacy. They only get one life, and they're going to make mistakes. And that is why we apologize and we change our behavior. But in the meantime, they get the greatest opportunity of all time, and that is to live their life how they believe is the right way to live it, and to become whatever they want to become. I've known way too many people who have died too young. I think of Kobe Bryant, a father dying with his daughter, and somebody who was with his daughter when he was in the crash. And they died way too young, but they still left a healthy legacy. And I think that's so important for your children to understand, that each day of our lives is a gift, and we get to do whatever we decide we're going to do. We may not like the consequences of some of our decision, but if we learn from those consequences, if we start to change our lives so that they have character, they have dignity, they have leadership, they have discipline, and they have honesty, that we care about other people and we want something bigger for ourselves and others than where we're at today. And I just believe that as I look across our nation, I am appalled at where we're at. and the lack of morality, and things being renamed all over the place. Well, this isn't really stealing, they're just taking, okay? They have a right to do that because they were raised poorly. Let me tell you, there were a lot of poor people in the world, but they don't steal. That does not give them a right to take what is not theirs. The way character is built is by building your life one brick at a time, one decision at a time, in a legacy that you can be proud of. And I think that it is time for parents and grandparents to step back and go back to the basics. We are never going to learn every app out there. We're never going to be able to see every video game. We're not going to be with our kids 24/7, and we certainly cannot protect our kids from social media. They're going to find a way. So where I come from is it really comes back to step one, the basics, deciding who you are, what you want to be, but most important, what you stand for. What if out of those 100 kids, at least 50 of them had said, no way, baby, I want to go to college. I want to be a welder. I want something good. And if I go in there with you, I will lose my dignity. I will lose my honesty. I will lose my character. But more important, I'm going to lose my future. This is really what it comes down to. And there's no magic formula, but I believe it starts with relationship and conversation and openness in dialogue to go back and forth, listen to a young person and share with them your values. My name is Opal Singleton, and our organization is millionkids.org. We don't have all the answers, never did claim to do it. In fact, most of the time we work with broken people, especially broken parents whose kids have come apart or they're missing or they've made a poor choice. And we do our best to help them rebuild. We give them referrals. We direct them out. We support the police departments. We support the sheriff department. We run Million Kids Missing Kids so that you can help find the kids that have run away or have made a bad choice in their life. And we also run Million Kids Insider Alert. If you want to be a part of that, just go to millionkids.org, million, MILLION, kids, KIDS.org, and go on and sign up for our newsletter so that you will be able to see all the cases coming out, especially in the Inland Empire, and all that is happening so that you can educate yourself about what's happening in social media and online exploitation. While you're there, if you have it in your heart to donate to Million Kids, we would truly, truly appreciate it. We are a 501c3 public benefit nonprofit. We live at your mercy. And the only way we can help others is when you help us. So if you're willing to do that, you can go to millionkids.org, hit that donate button, or get the address and send us a check. I'm old-fashioned. I'll take those checks, you bet. Thank you to each and every one of you that follow this program. I talk to you regularly. I love all of you. I support you. Put your arms around your family and let them know how proud you are of them. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.